Chapter 17 of The Great Cosmic Mother. The Megalithic Tomb, the Moon and the Stone. Most high Neolithic cultures in the Near East developed gradually from village settlements into city centers around 5000 to 4000 BC. Perhaps this was the golden age in this part of the world, a time of peaceful and creative life in the Jordan Valley, kept alive in later myths and legends. And perhaps the same peaceful, settled existence was ongoing at the same time in other parts of the East, in India, in Africa, in Western Europe. From diggings, we know that the dead were no longer buried deep under the house floors, nor entombed in the oven-shaped chambers cut in the rock of caves. Now they were given more monumental habitations in the form of rock chambers or stone structures built on the ground, covered with artificial earth mounds. These are the megalithic tombs or dolmens. The dolmen itself, a chamber formed of great upright stones roofed with a top stone, was seen as having great healing powers. Stones, shaped by the water, wind, the earth, were believed to be the habitation of the goddess. In some stone chambers, the portal stone was carved out to resemble the birth canal. The dead, still buried in fetal position, were placed in the womb of the Great Mother, awaiting rebirth. Still later, women, being the farmers, gardeners, and keepers of the grain, buried their dead in the great egg-shaped pithoi or clay storage urns under the ground. Always a connection was made between the miraculous growth of the plant from a seed buried in the earth and the dead body planted also in the earth, with the hope of regeneration through her womb powers. The women drew on their daily practical experiences as agriculturalists to create elaborate new myths of cyclic birth, death, and resurrection. With the spread of settled agriculture, this new culture and its religious symbols blossomed everywhere. The Middle East, India, through Europe, into Scandinavia, Britain, and Spain, the Mediterranean islands, North and West Africa. The ancient primordial symbols remain, but in a much more elaborate and permanent form. The great cosmic mountain mother, who was the mother of wild animals, who was the dark ocean, the night and day sky, begets the silver egg, or fruit of her night sky, the moon. She is both moon and earth, and the ancient bird snake goddess of water and air begets a daughter, the pregnant earth goddess of vegetation, the green child. Both mother and daughter are linked with the moon. The massive great mother of the old Stone Age begins to share her powers with a new goddess, a strong young daughter of agricultural skills ruled by the moon. The moon, as the daughter of the great mother, is known as the triple goddess. She presides over all acts of generation, whether physical, intellectual, or spiritual. Her triple aspect expresses the three phases of the moon: waxing, growth, full rebirth, and waning, periodic death. She is, as the new or waxing moon, the white goddess of birth and growth. She is, as the full moon, the red goddess of love and battle. She is, of the old or waning moon, the black goddess of death and divination. These are the three phases of a woman's life. Magical. Biological phases are also spiritual phases. Transience and immortality are different aspects of the same goddess. The moon, as the daughter fruit of the great mother's sky, expresses the essential unity and perpetual change of her cosmos. Moon and sun are the eyes of the heavenly mother, the all-seeing one. We still talk of heavenly bodies, of stars looking down on us, and we still experience the universe as a larger symbolic body, as macrocosm to microcosm, as a mythic mother to daughter. The three cyclic phases of the ever-turning moon should remind us that our own minds are not primordially dualistic, but structured to flow through changes, always conscious of the one, while experiencing the whole range of diverse psychic manifestation. Mens, the word for mind, is also the word for moon. On ancient images of the goddess, we find the spiral symbol, one end rolling upward and the other downward by the gentle triangle. When represented by this double spiral, she is never solely the goddess of fertility, pregnancy, and birth. She is always, at the same time, the goddess of death and the dead. Bearing on her belly the continuous rising and descending spiral, she expresses the constant double motion of the cosmos. In megalithic art, goddess of the giver of life is depicted naturalistically and sensuously. But the ruler over the spirits and the dead, her form stresses the unnatural, the surreal, the psychic spiritual. She is then figured into the weird, fantastic, hermaphroditic, or phallic shapes. She is hallucinated into composite monster animals like the Sphinx or later the Griffin and Abraxas. Stylized form called the eye goddess, she becomes simply a double spiral representing her cosmic magic eyes. This eye goddess design is found on pottery, on statues, on clay, and bone implements all over the Near East and Europe. On the Newgrange burial mound in County Meath, Ireland, the double spiral marks the main stones. The goddess receives there the first rays of the sun's rebirth on winter solstice, and the same design appears on the stones on Malta, Crete, and in Scandinavia, and inside burial chambers throughout France and Brittany. The eye spirals are often mistakenly called cup and ring marks, assumed by a male archaeologist to be sun wheels. Carved in grim relief inside burial mounds in Brittany, the eye goddess stares forward, seeing death and life equally. The funerary mood is expressed in the stylized abstraction of her gaze, reducing complex existence to the stark essentials of seeing and the invisible. Nature is both growth and decay, and life cannot be without death, such as is the unblinking vision of the eye goddess. Stone in Neolithic times, as in Paleolithic, remains the powerful abode of the great goddess. Stone in all forms is immortal and unchanging, symbol of permanence. As the bones of the earth, the pelvic walls of caverns, it gives off a profound vibration or resonance, both subhuman and subnatural. All primitive people carry wishbones and healing stones, talismans painted with magic symbols. Animals as well as humans seem drawn to tall standing menhirs or stone pillars. Sick livestock rub against them in the countryside, and it's timeless folk custom to touch menhirs in order to become fertile or to be cured of illness. Legends referred to stone circles in Brittany and Cornwall, in Ireland and England, as nine maidens or merry maidens. Nine is the magic number of the moon and of the Thracian muses. To explain these circles, it is said that nine naughty young women were turned into stone by the avenging Christian god for dancing on his Sabbath. It has been suggested that a specific number of women and girls dancing in a circle at certain speeds and all singing or humming the appropriate note, young women of high piping voices, might set up a vibratory resonance in the stone circle, subjecting each stone to a burst of sound energy as each woman passed it, this energy traveling from stone to stone. The ultrasound of the voices or music could act on the crystal structure of the stone. It has recently been found that the quartz content of such stones is an electrically active crystal, and that certain standing stones associated with the stone circles generate ultrasound when stimulated by the elements in the electromagnetic spectrum radiated by the sun at dawn. In England, geologists and leyline hunters, why hunter, not seeker, are working together in the Dragon Project, physically monitoring and measuring radiation and energies emanating from standing stones and stone circles at different times of day and night, lunar and solar risings and settings, and at different seasons. In Neolithic times, the moon and the stone symbol were combined in one characteristic shape, the horned altar. Anything shaped like a crescent moon was considered, by analogy, to belong to the triple goddess. Thus, where horses' hooves struck crescent marks on the earth, the moon ran, and the wild mare belonged to her. The curving lunar horns of cows and bulls, goats, oxen, and other herd animals were held sacred and adorned, and the horned crown became the magic adornment of warriors, rulers, and priests in the late Neolithic. Horned Teutonic warrior women and horned Pan, pagan god of nature, belong to this tradition, and that's why the Christian devil is depicted wearing horns. From Upper Paleolithic times, we have the Venus of Losel and other cave images of women wearing or holding horns and figurines of horns with women's breasts. There are also images of the pregnant doe and her magic antlers. Northern hunting people still see the mother of the universe as a doe, elk, or wild reindeer. There are myths of pregnant women who rule the heart of the world, covered with hair and with branching deer horns on their heads. The deer was still sacred to Artemis and Diana, goddess of the moon in later times. The doe's udders were seen to be sources of rainwater, and the growth of her antlers was magically connected with the growth of the crescent moon, both symbolizing growth and regeneration. The symbol of the Sumerian goddess of childbirth was a stag. Apparently, there was a synchronicity between growth cycle of the stag's antlers and that of a spring-grown Neolithic cereal grain. In later Celtic and Teutonic myth, the fairy transformed herself most commonly into a magic deer and lived within an earth mound, the pregnant womb of the goddess. A whole complex of symbols is associated with this Neolithic religion of the great goddess. The sacred pillar, the horns, the cosmic snake and the egg, the labyrinth, the world tree, the dove, the swastika, the sacrificial double axe or labries, the bee, the butterfly, and the chrysalis. The horned altar, the cow's horn shaped in stone or clay, the likeness of the young crescent moon, stood for the new growth and fertility. It's also meant the simultaneously waning crescent, the dying moon. These altars are found in megalithic tombs, but agricultural rites of the horned altar were also performed for the living group, just as earlier Paleolithic people had performed magic cave rituals to encourage the birth and capture of the hunter's animal quarry. In the settled Neolithic, where people depended on cultivated crops, the season and the weather, horned altar ceremonies were enacted to help the rebirth of the new moon, to assist crop growth and harvest, to renew the fertility of the fields each year, so bringing about the resurrection of the daughter vegetable life through the Mother Earth and the moon. When plowing developed, it was part of funerary rites. The sacred pillar, along with the horned altars, were sacred stone objects standing in the open country, along roads, and in the village. Also descended from the Old Stone Age were the phallic pillars with the Great Mother carved on them. Stone pillars and breasts are found throughout the Near East. As Gimbuta suggested, these ancient phallic mother stones symbolize shamanic bisexuality and the unity of the sexes, a Neolithic ideal stressed in ritual and imagery. The cosmic snake and egg derive from the original goddess cosmology and continue to represent wisdom, immortality, and continuity within change, and the magic germ, or still heart center, within the whirling and negative positive spiral feed of cosmic energy. The labyrinth also continues the earlier Paleolithic rituals of the underground cave, the initiation maze dance through life and death. Serpent and maze designs are common symbols of Neolithic pottery worldwide, and in urban times where they're incorporated into floor mosaics. The Neolithic Western Europe and Neolithic North America, giant burial mounds were built in the shape of serpents with spirals engraved on their stones. The world tree is another worldwide symbol. Found everywhere among Neolithic agricultural people, the world tree also existed among earlier Old Stone Age hunting and gathering cultures. Shamans in trance climbed the world tree, which is the human spine and the spine of the world, to receive illumination. The Neolithic world tree appears in a garden, abundant with fruits and grains. It reflects the agricultural concerns of settled people when the energy bonds between human society and the cycles of vegetable life were stressed, and also coming under human control. The world tree incorporates serpentine and lunar symbolism, shedding bark and leaves like skin or light, being reborn in the spring and growing rhythmically with the monthly moon phases. At least 2,000 years before Hebrew patriarchs wrote of the Garden of Eden, the Neolithic great goddess had her magic garden of immortality. Clay seals and figurines from Sumer and Crete show her sitting in her garden, the branches of the world tree overspreading bundles of fruits and grains, a crescent moon over her shoulder, and somewhere twined around the tree trunk or stretched on the ground at her feet, the cosmic serpent. And some fertilizing rivers and meander lines pour in from the four directions. Such images of peaceful abundance are the thesis of the Neolithic. The dove, often pictured here too, perched in the world tree as the symbol of the Great Mother's all-giving love, as the vulture meant all-taking death. Doves continued through the Roman times to be companions of the love goddess Venus, as well as biblical symbols of peace. In the image of the cosmic tree penetrating three sacred zones of heaven, earth, and the underworld, the threefold structure of the universe is expressed. Also, the threefold structure of the human brain, the original reptilian brainstem surrounded by the mammalian cerebrum and all enveloped by human neocortex. The reptile brain is the secret dream underground. The mammal brain is abundant earth. The human neocortex is the flying bird who sits in the world tree and can climb the sky. Wherever bird and snake appear together, as in the Thracian bird and snake goddess, they are to be seen as the upper and lower symbols of the world tree. And it is understood that the world tree, which is the spine, the arousal of the Kundalini through the chakras, connects them. In the presence of this Neolithic world tree symbol is the presence of the most ancient shamanic trance power and yoga. Both are magic techniques of the Great Mother. In the Hebrew Genesis, Eve and Adam are driven from the Garden of Immortality by Yahweh because they consort with the cosmic serpent under the magic world tree. The Genesis tree was not an apple, but a fig tree. Eve and Adam covered their nakedness with fig leaves after eating of its fruit in Eden. Hathor, the cow goddess of Egypt, was anciently identified with the fig tree, which was known as the living body of Hathor on earth. To eat of its sweet, full, pulpy fruit, its very vulva-like fruit, was to eat her flesh and fluid. The fig tree was also sacred on Crete, considered the food of eternity and immortality. The biblical Garden of Eden was in fact the entire Near Eastern, North African, and Mediterranean Neolithic agricultural world of the great goddess. And the forbidden tree and evil serpent represented her ancient magic powers of illumination and immortality and earthly peace. The swastika is one of the most ancient and abstract symbols. It is found scratched on Siberian clay figures of wild geese on the underside of their wings from the earliest Neolithic excavations. The cross originally represented the earth, the Great Mother's body, her outstretched arms, the four directions. The swastika means the earth in flight. It is the cross with feet or wings set in motion. The earth and its moon are wheeled through their changes. Later seen as a sun wheel, the swastika was first a moon wheel, and like the double crescent, the labries, it could signify both the directions of the cosmic spin into creation or dissolution. The right spinning wheel, clockwise, was used to build, encourage, and maintain. The left spinning wheel, counterclockwise, was used to destroy, prevent, or transform the nature of something. Just so, the witch circle turns clockwise to do, Witter shuns to undo. The swastika can be found worldwide, from old relics dug up in Iran to the pottery decorations of present-day Zuni Indians in the American Southwest. Typically on a 7th century BC terracotta amphora from Boeotia and other statues and pots from the Aegean, the swastika was associated with the Lady of the Beasts and the New Stone Age version of the Paleolithic mother of wild animals. It is one of the magic signs on the foot of the Buddha. Taken over by patriarchy, the swastika has meant only destruction. Hitler read it as an Aryan fire sign. The double axe, or labries, was the instrument used by women in ceremony, in agricultural work, and in battle. It is an axe with two heads, with two moon crescents waxing and waning. A practical version was used by women in daily agricultural work. In the form of the battle axe, it was used by Amazonian warriors of North Africa Thrace, and Macedonia in the Caucasus. As a sacred sacrificial axe, it could only be used by priestesses who could alone cut down the goddess's ceremonial trees. Our word labyrinth comes from the Minoan labries. It refers to the hall of the double axes or labyrinth, cut up by archaeologists at the palace of Knossos on Crete. Crete was the great matriarchal culture center of the Mediterranean. Its murals and mosaics, pottery designs, seals, and amulets show the labyrinths wielded only by women, and it appears extensively as an icon symbol of the great goddess. The bee was always a sign of the goddess. Honey was the only sweetener of the ancient world, and its maker, the honeybee, is both industrious and magical. Only the female bees build hives and make honey, and they communicate with each other via dance language. Bees appear in the spring and the rebirth of grasses and flowers. The goddess was also pictured as chrysalis and butterfly, who emerges from the self-spun tomb, totally transformed, as the bird once emerged from the reptile and the new soul emerges from ritual death on wings of illumination. The butterfly is, like the cowrie shell, a vulva symbol. According to Marija Gimbutas, the butterfly winged goddess was slowly merged with the double axe image during the Bronze Age. The megalithic tomb was the body of the Great Mother. It was her temple where religious rites were performed at night by light of her moon. The stone menhirs were designated as females, colossal upright blocks, some 10 feet high and often grouped in threes. They embodied the triple goddess of birth, death, and rebirth, and were associated throughout Neolithic with vast circles marked out by stones, which were ritual enclosures and sacred dance grounds. These stone circles, or the traces of them, are found worldwide. The rites enacted in the menhir circles represented with the spiral understanding of the Neolithic people and their wish for union with the goddess and for immortality through her. The ceremonies were presided over by women shaman priestesses, whose sphere were vision, sacrifice, poetic and magic lore, the ritual calendar and the law, the astronomical astrological observation. The later Druids inherited much of their knowledge, lore, and ritual. These priestesses were also healers, rainmakers, midwives, and the keepers of Soma, the sacred mind-expanding drink. Beehive tombs with passage entranceways have been found from Greece to Ireland, dating from the close of 3000 BC. All had huge circular enclosures, amphitheaters for funerary games. Their entrances are ornamented with 8 double spirals. The circle has no end, the point that breathes itself into a universe and back again. On Crete, cult shrines enclosing small stone pillars or clay pillars molded around tree trunks were set up to ceremonialize the dead in its magic tomb. The Egyptian pyramids were an elaborate culmination of this megalithic tomb, guarded by the giant Sphinx, who is the goddess, guardian of the dead.